So this is the 2020 Audi E-Tron. This is an electric large hatchback, I guess you could say. A liftback, whatever you want to call it. Either way, it's got 4 regular doors, 1 door at the back, and then a hood which hides some of the electrical cables and a spot to place the charging cable, which is not in there right now because it's hooked into the wall of my garage. The Audi E-Tron Sportback, just like the standard E-Tron, is powered by a pair of electric motors, one at the front, one at the rear. Total output is 355 horsepower, and that's good enough to push these from 0 to 60 in the low 5-second range. The battery pack supplying juice to those motors is a 95 kilowatt hour unit, and Audi lets you use more of it than it did back in 2019 on the regular E-Tron. You got to use around 85 to 88% of that battery. On this one, you're up to about 91%. What that means? More range. Yes, storage suffers a little bit on this one, as you might expect, but not as much as you might expect, because the total cubic feet reduction in the rear is about 2 cubic feet in total. It's still pretty good back there. And in terms of interior space, there's plenty of room for 5 adults. When the E-Tron is in dynamic mode, if you push the accelerator all the way flat so you feel the detent, you get a max horsepower temporary boost mode where the output is now 402 horsepower and 490 pound-feet of torque. Still, this thing weighs 5,800 pounds, so it needs all of that to go. But when you're just cruising, the passing power is more than adequate. So why does this vehicle exist? That's probably the most important question, because Audi already has the Audi E-Tron. So why do they need a Sportback version, essentially a version with less cargo space? Because people buy these. That's why people don't flock to the A6 when they can get the A7, the S6, the S7, and so on and so forth. People want this shape. I can't explain why. I prefer the standard E-Tron. I prefer wagons, so I'm a super duper wacko compared to the rest of the market. But Audi's making this because people will buy this shape. And they're getting basically the same driving experience as the normal E-Tron. And that's fine because it's a pretty darn good EV and it's only getting better. Audi's very conservative with their electric technology. They're making them better incrementally as they go though, and it's easy for them to do so because they are so conservative. They're unlocking more potential of the battery without needing to supply a larger battery because they're letting you use more of that battery. And then on the charging side of things, they're learning better thermal management techniques to let the vehicles charge faster. Both of those are very good things. Now with regards to charging, this can handle 150 kilowatt charging speeds on a DC fast charger, and that'll take you from 0 to 80% in about 30 minutes. If you're charging this at home on 240, you can go from 0 to full in about 10 hours, which is fine. Leave it plugged in overnight. The EPA says this thing is around 220 miles or so, maybe a little bit less. I forget the exact number because for 2021, I think it just went over 220, but this is a 2020. There's a lot of twos in that last phrase. Either way, just figure around 200 miles, which is fine. I've been driving this all over Southern California, well, not all over, between Orange County and LA. Plenty of driving. It's actually really efficient on the highway, which is a great thing for a commuting vehicle here in Southern California. It's fine in stop and go traffic, but this thing is nice and efficient. It's very easy to keep it over 2 miles per kilowatt hour, and it shows you your instant kilowatt hours, which is a great figure to know how you're doing in terms of your range, because basically you take how much is in your battery, you multiply it by your miles per kilowatt hour, and then there's your range. Once you learn that, it makes a lot of sense. Inside though, the good thing is that this is just a normal Audi with the latest updated tech. Audi has the best tech in the game right now. I've been saying that on a bunch of their vehicles, and it's no exception here. Even though it is primarily or almost all touchscreen based, minus some steering wheel controls, it's the best iteration of touchscreen based infotainment. The haptic feedback is clear. The buttons are large and easy to use and responsive without doing false presses, which would, what old touchscreen systems used to do. It works really well. I rail against touchscreens, but if you're going to have a touchscreen, this is basically the best one you can have. It also uses natural voice recognition, so you can, talk to it like a human being, not like, give me hot chocolates. And the car goes, what? I don't know what you mean. Now you can just say, yo, I could go for some hot chocolates right now. I don't know if it will respond well to yo, but what can you do? You can try. Das ist not the language of the Audi. Everything works well here. The seats are comfortable. And the only problem, I don't need that text right now. The only major problem with this vehicle is really the price. The e-tron is expensive, so expensive that Audi for 2021 is introducing a lower trim to drop the cost of entry on these. There's a premium, I believe it's the premium or premium plus, I forget the exact name of the trim, but it starts under $70,000, starts in the mid $60,000 range, whereas the normal ones, the standard ones before that trim came about, those were in the low $70,000 range. That's a ton of money for what is essentially an electrified Q5, even though I think this is more akin, this one specifically, to a Q8, because these are not Q7 in size. So if you fully spec one of these out, because I was curious, every option on a Sportback, you're at about $91,000, which you do not need to do that. You don't need to go all the way up. This one in the mid 70s is great as it sits. The only thing that this one doesn't have, which would be nice, is the dual charging port. So right now it's on the driver's side. There's an option to have one on each side. But at the end of the day, is that really necessary? No, because you're gonna, 99% of your charging experience is going to be at home, and you're pretty much always gonna park it the same way at your house, in your garage, and just plug it in. But if you're out and about, maybe you need to back into a spot or pull into a spot. But that's such a minor quibble. It's just a luxury convenience feature that I think in the future, maybe they can make standard going forward. Now, the Sportback, because this is the way the world works these days, has less cargo space, only just, but it costs more. To get the curves and the shape, you need to spend more money. It's between $3,000 and $4,000 more on equal e-tron and e-tron Sportback models. The Sportback is $3,000 to $4,000 more expensive. And that's crazy to me because, yeah, I get maybe this is a sportier shape and they know that they're gonna sell more of them, so they put the price premium on it. Why are you spending more to get a little bit less car? And I get to stress, only a little bit less. In terms of interior comfort and seating, even with this giant panoramic sunroof, there's plenty of headroom. Everybody would be comfortable. You just lose a little bit in the back. So I'm always a bit confused when it comes to that. I'm sorry right now too. I am stuck in traffic on the road. They're doing construction on this road, so it's down to one lane, hence why we're not talking driving dynamics. And I have gotten a fair bit of time behind the wheel of an e-tron. It was a 2019 e-tron, the standard one, when I drove from New York to LA before the Electrify America network was fully finished across the middle of the country. So I don't have range anxiety at all with one of these. It would be a fantastic daily driver, and then add in some incentives and rebates to bring the price down to a more comfortable space. It's a great option. It doesn't have as much range as the Tesla. It doesn't have as much range as the Jag, which is, way to go Jaguar. And then lesser options, it doesn't have as much range as the Hyundai Kona Electric, which is a wonderful choice too. But it is an Audi, so the interior experience is nice, is pleasant. This is a wonderful place to spend time. The seats are comfortable. Higher trims can be had with massaging seats, whereas this one has only heated and cooled. The screens are bright and easy to read. Wireless CarPlay, Qi wireless charging. And I really like the way they do the wireless charging, where the phone slots into a little clip down here and holds it tight. So if you did need to grab it to take a picture of a cool car on the road, not saying that I would ever do that, but you can have easy access to your phone and don't worry about, or pay for Starbucks, which I might have also done. So I like that feature. I like how easy it is to switch from CarPlay back to the standard Audi menus. It's easy to see how much range you have. Everything is easy. That's Audi's definition of luxury, is making your life easier. And that is honestly the most attainable type of luxury we can hope to reach these days. This is a great option for someone looking to jump to an electric vehicle who still wants a little bit of luxury in their life. This is much nicer inside than a Tesla, considerably nicer than a Tesla. And a Model Y would feel more cramped, and then a Model X is more expensive, though they will both offer more range. I would trade off, 100 miles of range just to have a nicer car. And I would get the normal, not the Sportback. And I would love to have one of these as a daily driver. Absolutely. I absolutely would. I can't afford a Taycan. Maybe we could swing for an E-Tron, and I think it'd be a wonderful machine to live with on a daily basis. In terms of driving dynamics though, this does drive well for something that weighs 5,800 pounds. It feels quick. It doesn't feel lightning quick, but there are moments where it pushes you back into your seat. There's literally a Civic in front of me, so if I nail the throttle here, if I nail the accelerator, I'm gonna smash into the back of this Honda, and I don't wanna do that. It handles better than you would think it would. 20-inch wheels will do that. The brakes feel fine. It never feels funny going from standard brakes to regen brakes. I wish you could get more aggressive regen. You can up it with it has paddles to increase or reduce the amount of regen, but it's never enough for one pedal driving. You cannot one pedal drive this, and I feel like they should allow one more click with the minus paddle to increase the amount of regen to a level that would bring you to a full stop, or just have you hold it like some other automakers do when you really want to one pedal drive it. But as it stands, you cannot one pedal drive this. You get a decent amount of regen out of it, but I want one more level. What I really want though is to try the E-Tron S. I don't even know what they're calling it. The S performance version, which does 2 motors. So for that one, what they've done is they've taken the motor that exists on this car, the motor that's in the front, they moved that to the back. No, sorry, let me back that up. The motor that's in the back of this one, they moved to the front. The motor that's in the front of this one, they take that and move it to the back to control one wheel and add another one of those to control the other wheel. So it turns it into a 3-motor vehicle, gives it more power, and I guess you can drift the shit out of it, which would be, maybe that's what the S stands for. Drift the shit out of it. So I think it's fun that Audi is creating a base layer of good electric vehicles. I think there's a smaller one coming soon, the Q4, which will be more affordable. Hopefully it gets good range because it'll be lighter if it doesn't have too small of a battery pack. And then I like that they're doing sporty models above that. So they're really building a portfolio, a full suite of electrified vehicles. And that's smart these days. And if anybody's going to do it well, I think it's going to be Audi, because they're building terrific interiors. They're learning a lot from their e-tron program, so these are only going to get better and better. So I have high hopes for these. Do I want to drive this one from LA to New York or New York to LA? I'd like to give that another go. I would prefer to do it in the performance one though. So maybe that's what we'll do, and we'll go from there. But as it sits now, E-Tron Sportback, good. I hope it makes them money so they can keep making other electric vehicles. But if you're going to buy one of these, allow me to recommend the non-Sportback. Just buy the normal one. Save money. As we whir our way into the future. None of us are going to be billionaires. None of us, if you're watching this channel and you're shopping for Cullinans and Bentegas and stuff, good for you. I hope you get taxed more in the future. We're not going to dive into political. We're not going to go full rugged ridge return on this video. We're going to put this stuff at the end for the people who know to watch to the end.